Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. Check us out. And welcome to our usual Tuesday show, Office Hours Ask Me Anything. There are no special guests today. It's just me, but hopefully you'll still be happy with that. Hi, Marianne. Marianne says, what type of work do you do? I'm going to go with CX and UX, research, design, strategy, but not in that order. What type of work do you do, Marianne? All right, let me get our first question ready since I'm not sure that was it. All right, this one is a long question. We got some long questions coming in anonymously. And of course, before I do that, let's remind everybody to give special thanks to the people who are paid members here on the YouTube channel and keep me in cheesy videos and chocolate chips. Thank you very much. Hi, Fatima. So thanks everybody. It is optional, but always appreciated. And also, what else can I tell you? I can say subscribe here to the Delta CX YouTube channel. deltacx.com/links will give you some helpful links for our show, like our schedule and how to be part of other stuff that we do. So there's that. All right, let's see if I can put this question up. I'll probably have to make the font really small, which I know isn't going to be great for some of you, but at least it's up here. Marianne says, I'm retired. I do home staging. Well, then you might find this show boring because we're going to talk about CX and UX. All right, so this question says, I'm relatively new at my job, and the company has a customer success team made up of 2 people. One of them also holds a C-suite position. Okay, so the customer success team is 2 people, and one of them is a C-level executive. They are tasked with onboarding enterprise customers. They manage the chat widget on the website, and they often bear the brunt of disgruntled customers not succeeding in their tasks. Well, sure, if that's your customer success department, I assume that's is that your entire support team? Are they the only people supporting new and disgruntled customers? Maybe. They also do introductory demo sessions with clients, and they often get questions from users, which they try their best to cater to. Therefore, they do have plenty of information to delve into in terms of improving the customer experience. And I'd like to know your opinion on how to start collaborating with them in such a way that will generate some sort of insights pipeline to bake into my work. They often post in our common chat things like, Customer X wants this line added to this place, but I haven't noticed them drilling down on the whys. So I'd like to start working with them to leverage that, especially since access to customer interviews is currently limited. It's just that I don't know how to start. Thank you very much. Well, great. Thank you to the anonymous person who sent in the question. It's a good one. So yes, I do think that customer support, customer success, call center teams, people who handle tickets or even respond to social media, all of these things are the voice of the customer, even though they can be considered in some cases secondary. Yes, these are still great places to get information and, again, in usually secondary research. You're not talking directly to the person. You're seeing something they told someone else or posted online. So I think those are great ways to get information. I agree with you. I wouldn't necessarily say that just because it says customer X wants this, that we should go and add it. And it sounds like you're not going to be able to talk to customer X, which is too bad. So I would say, see if you can get some sort of dump from this team. Like, do they keep these, can you access a Zendesk? Can you access a spreadsheet of common issues and see if they can tell you how often these issues are coming up? Because while customer X wants a line added, are there things that they most commonly deal with? So sometimes I will ask a team like this, what questions are you hearing the most? What's something that we can build into the site where users could have more or better self-service and therefore not bother you for something they should be able to do themselves? Solomon, I see your questions. I'm going to add them. Hi, Stephen or Dr. Stephen. Thanks for the insights. You're welcome. I don't know if it was you who asked the question, but you don't have to reveal that. So, yeah, I think that can be a good way to go. We did a little bit of this when I worked at Macy's. I was a contractor for 2 years at Macy's, and every month we would get a spreadsheet from the customer. They had kind of a CX team who didn't really do UX work, but they sat next to us, and they would give us these spreadsheets with like, how many times did we hear this kind of thing or this kind of thing. So I don't know if they're able to give you any reports with how frequently they're hearing about certain topics, or reports that tie a question or complaint to a certain feature or part of the system. But I would take a look for those. I would also try to go back to them. Hi, I10. And I would say, hey, you know, customer this says they want this line, that, but people are very rarely good architects of their own solutions. It would be great if I could talk to customer X and maybe a couple of people like them. It doesn't have to be long. Maybe I can talk to them for 15 minutes or a half an hour and just learn more about what they're trying to accomplish, because their imagined solution might not be the best way and we don't want to build the wrong thing. Then you're going to hear customer X really needed this. So hopefully you can start planting the seeds that being able to talk to these people or do an observational study, even a remote one with shared screens, would help you. Stephen is cool. Yes, you are. So that's what I think. Let me see. Let me take another look at the question and see if I am missing anything. Let's see. Yeah, I think you could definitely make improvements here, but normally I try to prioritize these by how bad do they seem or how often are we hearing them, or sometimes it's a combination of both. So yeah, let me know if you have a follow-up question. You can ask your questions in the chat room. I'm monitoring LinkedIn, tweets, and YouTube. You can also ask anonymously at deltacx.link/ask. So those questions are welcome there as well. But I'll move to the next question, and if anyone has a follow-up on the first question, even if you didn't ask that question, I'm happy to take it. You are allowed to ask follow-ups to other people's questions. Okay, this is Larry says, yes, customers are better at describing a solution than defining the root cause. Right. People are not going to know the best way to solve their problem. They know the task they're trying to accomplish. They think they need this thing, but it doesn't mean that's the best way to go. All right, another long question, so let me read this one out loud. It says, hi, Debbie. Prep the fire. I'm going to talk about design sprints. Fire just for you, anonymous person. The UX manager thinks it's a good idea to run a design sprint because we have a lot of stakeholders from different departments with different visions and ideas as to what this project should be, because the project has various touch points. I don't see value in doing the whole sketching, prototyping, pseudo-testing that the design sprint book likes to sell, but I do think there's value in gathering and aligning the visions and concerns these stakeholders have, especially if various touch points, and especially if it has various touch points and we're trying to get buy-in to get resources to make it happen. I vaguely remember you mentioning how to go about these situations, but I'm curious to hear how you would approach this situation, knowing people are always wanting to move fast, have a loose vision and a little research, mostly desk or old research. Hopefully that's enough info. Yeah, thanks. That's a good amount of info. And if you're here, hi. And it's funny, I was just talking to someone at my current job about this today. And I think the problem is that very often what our teammates refer to as vision is really the solution. Now, they're not the same thing. I have a vision where people are able to self-service on the website because we finally let them pay their bill online. Okay, but that's not the exact solution. That doesn't say exactly how it looks or exactly how it works or what technology it uses or how many screens it has or things like that. That's a good technology agnostic, solution agnostic vision. We want to accomplish this thing because we can prove people need it or that it has user or customer value. So take a look at that and make sure when they're saying vision, that's what they mean. Because if vision really means, no, I want a screen that looks like this, that does this, that first has this, then has this, that's not vision anymore. I'm going to call that pseudo solution. So I do think it's important to gather stakeholders and relevant people together. Doesn't have to be a workshop. It can be a meeting. And just to say, hey, let's talk about some of the assumptions that we have. Let's talk about some of the things we know for a fact from our previous research, hopefully good research. Larry Marine says, yes, yes, yes. Does their vision describe a problem or a solution? Perfectly said. Let's get it up on the screen. I have to move the other one out of the way. So yeah, exactly. Make sure that vision doesn't mean solution and here's what we're building and why and how. So I think it's great to collect assumptions. It's also great to collect questions. What do people wish they knew in order to make some better decisions that might happen around prioritization of this project, technical stacks we might need to use, and other things. But I think you have to be careful with these design sprints. And you're welcome to show this to your team or your manager, by the way, because I'm not mad at them. I just think that this is a lazy way to try to do something when we really need something else. It's almost like the previous question, like you're trying to solve, someone there is trying to solve a problem with a thing. I really need a hammer, but I happen to have this remote control. So maybe I can just tap it a lot with this remote control. You'll probably smash the remote control. So, people have heard that design sprints can do things, so they want to do design sprints, and I get it. But I think it's going to be really important to make sure we are learning everything we can about the problem so that qualified UX peeps can then work on what is the right idea or concept, and then what is the right execution of that idea or concept. I think people forget how many possible outcomes there are of ideas and executions of that idea. If you're not sure, there's Disney World, and there's Disneyland, and there's Busch Gardens, and there's Six Flags, and there's an alligator farm in Florida. They all think they're kind of in the same place. Larry says, do you like the 5 whys approach to doing stakeholder inputs? I don't do 5 whys, but I don't have any particular reason why I don't do it. I think it's something you can certainly try, and I do hear it recommended a lot. So it's not something I've used, but it's something you can try. And the 5 whys are basically someone says, well, I think this, or I want to know this. And then you can say, why? And, oh, well, because of this. Why? Well, because the user needs this. Why? Or how do we know that? So it's really, I think, a slice of an exercise in critical thinking. And I know we haven't seen my hat yet this year, so let's remember the old critical thinking hat. It's still here. Oh, I still have Larry on the screen. It's just so warm and welcoming. Don't forget your critical thinking and get everybody on the team to do critical thinking, which means let's ask more questions rather than rush to more solutions or assumptions. So today at my job, a fantastic strategist that we have was talking about putting together a little Miro board, and she just made some quadrants on it. And it was like questions or what we'd like to learn from research, assumptions, concerns, and I forgot the 4th quadrant. But the idea was that we would either hold a meeting and let people fill that in, or actually try it asynchronously, because sometimes you hold that meeting, everybody fills it in, and then somebody goes, oh, I forgot something. So we thought, what if we gave people like a day or two to fill this out at their leisure and add stuff when it comes to them, because something might happen during the day where they go, oh, wait a minute, I don't know that thing. Let me go back to that Miro board and put in this question I have about what our users are really doing. So I think there's lots of different ways to slice this, but a design sprint to me isn't the right thing, because a design sprint, in my opinion, and let's put up the fire just for fun, a design sprint is usually aimed at finding a solution. And I think if we're still trying to figure out what is the vision, or what is the product, or what is the feature, or what are we going to build, or of course Larry would say, what is the user's task? Did we even map the user's task across all of these touch points? So that sounds like service design. I would be suggesting to this team that we get people together for some good critical thinking and some good questions around what don't we know about our users or target users or customers? What are we assuming about them that may or may not be true? and things like that, so that the researchers can spin up the correct generative or exploratory or discovery research, however you want to call it. That way we can inform all of the teams, the stakeholder, the cross-functional team, and then we can say, okay, what's the vision? Where is this going? And how does it play across these touch points, which might be something that you would map with task analysis and optimized task flow. See the micro lessons playlist on YouTube for that one, or possibly a current state service blueprint and a future state. Hey, thank you, John, for joining the channel. So that would be some of my suggestions. If anyone in the chat room has additional suggestions, you can add them on. I do see some additional questions coming in the anonymous way. So let me add those to the bottom of the list. I apologize that we already have a bit of a medium-sized list, and I am here alone. So we will get to your questions when we can, but certainly by the end of the show. Ooh, really good questions coming in, and I can see why these are anonymous. Wonderful. All right, let me just get them out of the system, and then we will make sure to answer them. Okay, clear them out. All right, they're in my list, and we will get there, and I apologize that it might be a while because I always like to give people some thorough answers, and I love that Larry's here and other people throwing some ideas on top of that. Okay, so another question that came in anonymously today, and let me, let's see, we got this question, we got this question. This is a short one, or at least short looking, but I think the answer is also not too long. So let me put this question up. We'll also see if anyone in the audience wants to add anything to this. The question is, what's the difference between concept testing for a new product and usability testing? Now, I think Larry's got some opinions on this, so if he's still here, he might add something. But what I would say is that when we are at the concept testing stage, we're not even sure that we have the right direction for the product. Usually, I'm not usability testing something until I'm fairly sure about the direction for this product or feature. So again, that's where we're talking about what's the idea or the concept, and then how will we execute on that? And you can see examples of that if you watch on YouTube my new playlist called Think Out Loud. That's where I was designing a fake thing, and you can see my thought process and how I start with something and then I go, no, 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 not that. Well, obviously, those were all concepts. Those all could have been solutions. They could have been the right execution, but then some things I decided to stick with and some things I decided against. So concept testing would be where you are trying to make sure that you're going in the right direction. Now, as for me, I tend to prototype everything. Those of you who have watched the Think Out Loud sessions know that I work directly in Axure, including for reasons like this, but really for a large list of reasons. And that way, as I'm playing with early concepts, I have some sort of interactive prototype, even if it's incomplete and only represents pieces of things, that hypothetically I could test. I could run it with a handful of people or some of our target people and try to figure out if this looks like it's going in the right direction to solve the problem. Now, some people believe that concept testing is something that you should just have the engineers build and put it out as an MVP or put it out for A/B testing. I happen to disagree with that. I believe that the MVP should be reframed, and that the MVP is really more about, okay, we've now decided on that vision and that product and those features. Now, is there a smaller version that still satisfies users' needs and has value that we can put out first while we work on the rest of it? So there's that. Larry says concept testing. Oh, let's put it up on the screen. Oh, it's not on my board yet. Concept testing, cupcakes or a large cake for a birthday party. Usability testing, chocolate or lemon. Okay, so it sounds like we're getting into more levels of detail. You know, as we work on concepts and designs more, we really are in like a spiral where we are spiraling closer and closer to the solution that we are likely to go with. So I think Larry's got a good point there. So again, I don't subscribe to the MVP thing where just because we have a concept that we're going to make engineers build it and we should put it out there and see what people do. And I also don't subscribe to the let's A/B test it, because that means you have to have engineers build it. And now it has to go live to some percentage of your users. That means paying people see it, trial people see it, the media can see it, people can screenshot it, competitors can see it, stock buying public can see it. It might not be something you want people to see. So I would be looking at how can we use UX testing practices to be testing these things behind the scenes before the public sees them or the public has to struggle with them. Because especially if it's an early concept, you're really saying, I don't even know if this is the right direction to go for the product or feature. So you want to make sure that that testing stays behind the scenes. Back in the non-pandemic days, maybe you brought people into a lab and you started showing them some of your early concepts and tried to see if they were a match to their needs. But remember, the goal of this type of testing, in my opinion, is you are trying to make sure that you are meeting or exceeding user needs and tasks, especially those unmet needs. You don't want to make the mistake of building something and going, well, people seem to like it, so it must be good. Or, yeah, they made it through the flow, so it must be good. We've got to have higher standards than that. Maybe that works for engineers or product who just think they want to get this thing out, but let's do better. Larry says, I really have nothing to add to what Debbie said. She nailed it. Well, I learned from you, Dad, as the American TV commercial goes, though. I don't think you're technically old enough to be my dad, but you know what I'm saying. All right, we got another great anonymous question before the show started. We're going to put that one up, and then we'll get to some of the questions that have come in during the show. And this one says, is there a specific amount of users I need to interview to create personas? Does number of users always need to be more than the number of personas? Can I talk to 6 users and create 6 personas based on them? I can't find it on the web. Well, then I'm glad you're here so I can tell you all about this. First of all, we've got some shows for you, and remember, they're free. So go into the micro lessons playlist. There's a couple of relevant shows in there. I think one of them was, do we really need personas? And another one was task analysis personas. I would recommend watching both of these, but let me give you my shorter answer than 2 hours of video on what I suggest. First of all, you always want to try to speak to a representative, statistically significant number of people, and in generative UX research, that is usually considered to be 8 to 12 people per target audience. What's the target audience? Check with marketing. Chances are marketing or sales knows who they're trying to market and sell to. So they could say, yeah, we've got B2B and B2C, and we have these types of customers and these types of customers. You go, okay, that's 4 groups. Or you might hear we have 10 groups, or you might hear we have 1 group, or, you know, whatever it is. Hi, Aka. I will look at your comment after I finish this question, but good to see you here. So first of all, start with marketing or sales. They know who they're aiming at. They might not have personas, or their personas might be marketing or sales personas. You don't have to run with any of those, but it'll give you an idea of who they think they're selling to. And that gives you an idea of how to do your recruiting, because you want to meet people who match who the company is trying to speak to. You don't just want to grab 8 to 12 random people and go, yep, I talk to people. Now, when you say, can I interview 6 people and make 6 personas, my guess is that you went to a UX boot camp or UI boot camp, because very often they make it sound like, hey, talk to 2 people, make 2 personas, talk to 3 people, make 3 personas. In reality, there is not a one-to-one relationship between persons and personas. Typically, personas are aggregated, combined fake people based on people you met who had things in common, tasks in common, needs in common, roles in common, habits in common. And so, for example, I think I've shown on this show before, we did a project where we were doing personas for people with Parkinson's disease who were all roughly the same age and roughly had the disease the same amount of time and used fitness wearables. Now, that was the target audience, and the foundation we were working with helped us meet the people who fit that. And I think we met 18 of them or so, I don't even remember, 12, 20, it was somewhere around there. And we ended up coming up with 3 personas. We found ultimately when we looked at their behaviors, what they had in common were some people were low effort about their exercise and they didn't care what their doctor said. And some people said, yeah, I do some exercise and I love to post about it on Facebook. I'll do a little gardening and yeah. And then we found the high effort exercisers who were like, I'm riding in races, I'm swimming every day, I'm going to do everything I can to stay active despite having Parkinson's. And because we found these were based on behaviors. Now, they weren't based on, are they kind? Are they friendly? Do they like Starbucks? As Larry would say, do they drive a minivan? They're not based on that. That, again, is marketing stuff. Marketing cares about how much money they make and what color their skin is. We're not designing for that. I don't design for how much money people make, and I'm not designing for what color their skin is unless there's absolutely something very specific to this company or product that relates to ethnicities. So be careful. Personas are not persons. It's best if you are meeting a larger group of people, 8 to 12 per bucket of possible audiences for your company or this product or division. And then you are boiling it down. Where do you see common behaviors? Where do you see common tasks and needs? That will define your personas. Definitely, please watch our videos, especially task analysis personas. Larry's got a great template in there that I think you can learn from. But that would be the way to go. And remember, the best thing you can ask when doing persona research is, share your screen. Show me how you do this, if it's digital. If it's non-digital, it'd be better if we were there with the person, but hey, it's very COVID-y outside, so there isn't a lot we can do. And Larry says, don't forget your knowledge-based user types, novice, average, and expert. You rarely need to design for experts, so think about 2 versions per user type. Yeah, and we're not saying they always have to be low, medium, high knowledge or low, medium, high effort. This is sometimes how it breaks up. The last set of personas I did last year were more role-based in the type of customer they were and why they were coming to this site to buy this thing. We found that there were common behaviors across in that way, similar tasks, similar needs, similar preferences and priorities, and similar decision-making approaches. And that's how we bucketed the personas. Because remember, you need your personas to be, everybody say it with me, meaningful, actionable, helpful. If you make a bunch of personas and you can't look at them later and say, I know what to design because I can see this type of person needs this type of thing. And I can see what's likely to work better for them. If your personas don't set you up for future project success, they're probably not, wrong way, meaningful, actionable, and helpful, and maybe you don't need to do them. Don't forget to subscribe here on the YouTube channel, and if you enjoy these shows, please find 3 people who might not know about the channel and tell them about it, especially your manager or leader. And Shofa says, interesting, didn't think of checking in with marketing. Nice. Yeah, thank you. Aka is here and says, I'm in the middle of Google's Coursera course. It feels like it's stuffed with a lot of BS and I'm wasting time. But on the other hand, it gives a lot of theory about UX. My goal is to land a junior job. Well, good luck. I agree that the Google course is terrible. I think it's full of BS and I'm not sure it's going to make you, let me rephrase that. I'm pretty sure it's not going to make you job ready. So I don't recommend it. But if you finish it fast, you can stop paying Coursera. All right, now we have Solomon's questions, which I'm going to post on the screen. Solomon, thank you so much for your patience, as always. And here we go. Let's get these up here. Solomon says, super friend of the show and a low ego action hero. Solomon says, do you think there's merit in educating colleagues on UX practices and processes? Is time better spent doing the work and hoping its value will be made self-evident? I think it depends what you mean by education. So if you mean teaching people to do our work, big no there. Giant big no there. I don't want any aspect of UX democratized. It's not an upskill. It's not a quickie training. It's not, hey, let me teach you a little bit of research and talking to customers so you can do it too. No, do not do. For more information, see episode 115 in the YouTube archive. If you are talking about, did we realize that people at our company kind of don't get UX, and there's only so far we're going to get until they kind of get what we do. In that case, I do recommend some training because I do find very often people think UX is pretty screens, UI, or really just a bunch of production designers who you can tell put the button there and put a checkbox over there. That being said, you have to be careful. You have to be careful that you are giving them education about what we do and how we do it. I would say, pull from whatever slides you've seen me do in shows like episode 115 and 116. You can also, if you go to YouTube and you search for Delta CX Improving Agility. That's a talk that I do for engineers to help them understand us better. There might be some nice slides there that you can grab, that you can use, or make a watch party at your company for the Improving Agility talk. It runs 45 minutes. Maybe a little lunch and learn. And really, to me, you just want to make sure that you are selling, that we are business intelligence, customer intelligence, and risk mitigation, and that they have to get away from the idea that it's pretty screens, that we are thinking about psychology and human behavior and trying to predict it in some cases, that we have specialized experience and some of us have specialized education. So I think that you have to be careful because a lot of people tell me who aren't in UX tell me they hate when UX calls them into an evangelism meeting. They hate hearing how important UX is and how important my job is. So you have to be really careful to phrase it in a way, and the way that I suggest is, I'm going to help set you up for success. You're a product manager, you're a business analyst, you're a scrum master, you're a developer. The things that we're going to do with research and design set all of us up for success and improved morale because we're going to finally build some things customer-like. Hey, hands up here. You can do this. How many people have built something here at this company and realized it probably wasn't right for our customers? Oh, yeah, everybody's hand goes up. Hey, how about we not do that? That's why we're here. That was a risky thing we did when we built that thing, when we put it out there and everybody saw it, when we had to deal with the backlash on it. That was a disaster project. We should really have fewer disaster projects. When we can get UX correctly integrated into processes and we're part of prioritization and planning and time estimation and we get the time we need to do a great job, we're going to save you from stuff like that. Larry says, I try less to educate them on what UX is and more on the results of good design. Showing examples of good design works well. The goal there is to remind them UX is more than a shiny object. Totally agree with Larry. If you do have success stories at your company, trot those out. I'm just thinking maybe you don't have success stories at your company, and that's why you're still in that place where you have to say, really, everybody, UX is worth it. We're good. We're nice. So yeah, as soon as you have UX success stories, hey, look at this mistake we made, but then UX came in and designed the right thing and look at what happened next. So yes, as soon as you have those success stories, bring them out. Thank you, Larry. We'll have to get Larry to join me again. Doing another live office hours. All right, we've got 2 more anonymous questions. I probably have time for more than 2. If you'd like to ask a question, put it in chat. Or Larry says, can you show other companies' success stories? That could be another way to go too. It just might be hard to prove that that company had that success because of their UX team. We don't know who had that idea, but you can try. Try all the things. Okay, this question came in anonymously. Thanks for sending it in. I work for a big corporation and they want to improve a user flow. They want to test a hypothesis and conduct user testing to prove or disprove the design or flow improvements. As a designer, should I say no when they're not willing to invest in generative research upfront? I wish we could talk to at least 5 people to define customer insights and make more informed design decisions. So this is the case of where you'll sometimes see people say, oh, I hate working with UX. You know, when we try to ask them for something, they say, well, that's not the right way to do it. So no, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. I think the problem is when we put up those walls, what ends up happening is that teammate, who's usually product or another stakeholder, says, geez, I just don't even want to work with these people. Like, next time, let's just go around them. Next time, let's just give the idea to engineering and build it. So we want to make sure that even if it is not an optimal UX process, that we are still involved as much as we can, because we can still make it better and we can still hopefully save it from disaster. At least testing should save it from disaster. And if you can plan that testing well, you can also, usually, but not always, figure out where the solution is way off. You know, because if you, again, as I said earlier, if you make the mistake of planning usability testing or concept testing or flow testing that just says, did people make it through? They made it through. Success! Hooray! But if we think about it, there's a lot more to success in testing than did people get through it. That's an extremely low standard. So make sure when you are planning this test, that you have a task that will match a real user situation or scenario, that you're giving them no hints, that your prototype is built out for them to do it, that your prototype, in my dreamy dream world, is built out for them to get error messages if they make a mistake. Because we don't want to just build out the happy path. Then it's just going to look like, oh, you know what, the prototype doesn't really handle what happened to you just now. So, you know, just keep going. Well, hold on. I want to see them get an error message and I want to see what they do. So remember, you can create a prototype and the right testing that should be able to surface if we're really going in the wrong direction. And especially if it looks like this is going in the wrong direction, that's a good place for you to, if possible, humbly say, stay low ego about it. Don't be like, ha, 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 told you so. Humbly say, you know, this is an example of where some research up front probably would have helped us go in the right direction earlier. It looks like this solution that we're looking at and this improved flow that we thought we made isn't really a great match to what our customers need. And the testing is showing that. So I'd like to see if maybe next time we could work with me and my team or UX or the UX researchers way early in the process. When you're road mapping this stuff, when you're planning and prioritizing this stuff, you know, let me collaborate on that. And that way I can see, you needed to learn more about what would be the optimized flow for our users in this case. And I would be able to spin up a really great, you know, relatively quick observational study where I can watch 5 or 10 of our target users move through this flow, ask them some questions, and learn about where its inefficiencies are. So I think you might have to go along with the program and find a way later to go, you know, there's some flaws in this that we're going to have to circle back and fix. And, you know, eventually we're going to have to ask ourselves which was the bigger waste, which wasted more time and money, having to keep fixing this because we're kind of guessing at it, or having let me do a week or two of research up front so that we knew where this flow was inefficient and had room for improvement. And again, you don't want to be, nya, told you so. You know, you gotta put on your best acting voice and say, you know, I could see how this would have been more efficient. Make sure you're using words the company cares about. Make money, save money, efficiency, productive. That's it. That's what they care about. Okay. Our last question of the day so far is a super one, and one we've talked about a little bit on the show before. And in fact, let me go into my own YouTube channel and see if I can find the previous shows. Oh, we've got more. Oh, hi. Okay, sorry, we've got more anonymous questions. Why didn't they come into my email? Okay, sorry, we are not done yet. We've got 2 more questions after this. Thank you to the 2 people asking anonymous questions, and I will add you to the list, and then we will end the show. So let me just get these on the list. And then that is it for today. The bar is closed. All right. All right. All right. And the question is, how do you deal with a coworker with narcissistic traits? And for the previous thing, Larry says, what are the metrics for improve? Fewer clicks, longer time on page, which you usually don't want. That's usually inefficient. These types of questions open a conversation that allows you to insert your knowledge of the problem. Brian says, I worked at a giant corporation in a non-UX job. I got so tired of hearing efficiency. Yeah, efficiency can be overused, but I think when we use it correctly, it's important. But yeah, what does it really mean? Save time, save money, do a better job. So, hi Shannon, good to see you, long time. Aka says, how to grow as a self-taught that will give me more chances for a UX junior job. We've answered that one a zillion times. It's just going to be practice with a coach who can look at your work and help you level up. But unfortunately, right now, you cannot get a job without having a job. I don't have good answers there. But we do have a similar question coming up. So, what do we do with narcissists? Now, let me go into our archives because I'm pretty sure we've got a couple of shows on this. Let me see. We've got episode 43, Recognizing and Dealing with Narcissists at Work. I think if you go to our YouTube channel and you just write Delta CX narcissists, you're going to come up with a couple of things. Episode 43 is probably a way better answer than I could give you in our short office hours time. But that would be my suggestion for where to learn more about that. So let me just make sure I got everything here. So ultimately, a narcissist is a narcissist and is unlikely to change. It might be someone you have to talk to your manager about. If it is your manager, you might need to talk to HR about it, or the person above your manager, depending upon who that is in the relationship that you have with them. We are not going to change that person, and we are rarely going to win. So you just have to, this is where we need resilience. And I know Viviane Castillo says once we think we need resilience, we're in a toxic place and we got to get out. And I agree with her. So while I sometimes do advocate for resilience, I see her point as well that once we're talking about being resilient, we're probably in a bad situation. We shouldn't need resilience. So, yeah. So, if it's something that your company can solve, if you can go to a manager and say, hey, this is what so-and-so is doing, and this is disrupting my work for these reasons, and it's working against company values. And, what can we do about that? Brian says, and pray that HR backs you with crying emoji. Yeah, it's very true. HR does not always back us and stand up for and with us as they should. And, but to me, sometimes I will try anyway. I'll give it a try. And then when I'm leaving the company and they go, what happened? I go, well, I came to you. I came to you with my problem. What did you do about it? But, that's me, the honesty. So go watch the full hour we did with Dr. Seth Finkel, a psychologist, on how to deal with narcissists. Okay, now we've got our really last two questions that came in anonymously. Here's the first one. How do we explain to a product, Festus says, what if resilience is literally one of the company's values? Oh no, that's a bad sign. Can we just agree that that's a bad sign? Yikes. That's like takes a punch well. That's a bad sign. Yo, we'll put it up on the screen. Thank you, Festus. That's not good. Not good. Let's check the company's values before we go and work there. We might not want to work there. Oh, wow. Takes a punch well. Yeah. Okay, back to the question. How do we explain to product managers and business analysts that NPS is not going to help us decide how to improve a product? Easily, because NPS asks, would you recommend us to other people? So it is only a measure of someone's intention to possibly tell other people about us. It does not measure whether or not they have told people about us. It does not predict whether or not they will tell people about us. It does not mean that they are loyal, and it does not mean that they are happy. I like to tell the story that there's a company that I gave 8s and 9s to for 10 years, and I told people about them and I recommended them until the day I found something better. And I shut down my account and I never went back. And even it was a small company. The CEO reached out to me. He's like, how do we get you back? I'm like, too late. Found something better. I think the best way they're going to run NPS either way. And I like to remind people that you can run NPS if you'd like, but when we all sit around looking at each other around that virtual table or physical table, when we realize we don't know why, that's when we have to spin up some proper UX qualitative research. We can't survey our way to knowing what's going wrong because not everybody will fill out a survey. Not everybody will tell us what's going wrong. Not everybody will explain it well. Not everybody will understand what's going wrong for them. They just know this isn't right for me, or I don't like this. So we want to use NPS as an opportunity to open those conversations and say, okay, our NPS is 12. That's not good. Let's find out why. I'd like to spin up some research where I'm going to watch, let's start with 10 customers go through some key parts of our product and see if I can find these things. Or, have them add to the NPS. Hey, what's your NPS score? Blah, blah, blah. Hi, would you like to be possibly selected for a 1-hour interview about your experience with our product? We're offering $75, $100, $200. Now you're going to capture those people and you're going to get their name and email address, which means you'll be able to match up what score they gave possibly. And then you can go say, oh, great, let's meet some 9s and 10s. Let's meet some 7s and 8s. And let's meet some of those 0 to 6s. And let's talk to them and find out what's going on. So whether it's observational or just talking to them, spin it up. And just remind people that NPS isn't a measure of much other than an intention to maybe tell people about us. But it doesn't mean they're satisfied. It doesn't. Brian says, limit expectations. Sounds about right for that one. Yeah. I hope that helps. Anonymous person, let me know if you have a follow-up question. We're here another 15 minutes. Follow-up questions are welcome. And then after this, later on, I will be recording someone else's podcast. I'm doing 2 podcasts this week after the show. I hope I have a voice left. And, late nights. Alrighty. This is the next question, which I think ties into the question that came in the chat room earlier. And our friend asks, what's your advice for folks looking to transition into the UX research field? I'm looking at making a career switch, but it seems like companies are looking for unicorns. You need to have 5 years of experience doing research and be an expert in 5 different prototyping programs and 15 coding languages. It feels overwhelming and I don't even know where to start. Hello, Aravik. So yes, you're totally right. UX jobs are a mess right now, and I'm still predicting that there is going to be a correction and shift because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable, but while people don't understand what we do and how and why we do it, it's very easy to imagine, oh yeah, just ask for that other thing, and oh yeah, ask for that thing too, and maybe they can write some code. It doesn't make sense. It works against us, and it's one of the key reasons why engineers and people in engineering love to tell us we're not agile. Oh, you're not agile. You're waiting for one person to do all of this research work and then writing and then design and then testing and then coding. Oh, you're not agile. You're slow. That's why we've got to look more at specialists and building up teams with specialized people so that we can work faster, more efficiently, be agile, be lean, whatever the word is. They're all saying the same things. So I think there are still some research jobs that genuinely want researchers. However, it's very rare. It's still very rare to get a first job in UX. Even junior jobs are asking for 1 or 2 years of previous experience. And they're not counting school work. They're not counting practice work. They're not counting boot camp work. That means people have to find usually some sort of apprentice work or just find someone who will give them a chance. And this is really unlikely. Many of the people I've been watching in the Delta CX universe for the last 3 or so years, it looks like it's taking many people 1 to 2 years to get their first job. I don't have any better news for you. I cannot say, you know what, but here's the fast track. Even people with master's degrees, some of them might still be in the chat right now, needed about a year to find their first job. And in some cases, they're spending that year doing practice projects and other things, maybe working with mentors or coaches to improve and build up the portfolio. Maybe they're finding a way to get a freelance project, but in general, I believe that's rare because normally when people think freelancer, they think like the hired gun who's really good at this. They don't think the newbie who's still guessing at this. I do recommend Michelle Ronson's CuriosityTank.com courses. They are not cheap, and they also will not necessarily guarantee you a job, but she has been working harder to try to get people into real projects as they work through the course. And I think the more real corporate projects you have, the more likely someone is to look at your portfolio and your resume or CV and go, oh, they've started doing this already. They probably know what they're doing. We could bring them in. Remember that no matter what you see posted on LinkedIn, most employers are looking for proficiency, for skill. So all of those things you see posted on LinkedIn that say, hire someone with ambition, hire someone with drive, don't worry about experience. Companies want experience. They do. Ambition and drive are great. Eagerness to learn, ability to learn, great. I want all of these things. It's not either I choose experience or I get an ambitious, driven person who likes to learn. I want both. And especially because UX work very often is mission critical. When companies get the UX wrong, it's a disaster. So I understand why companies are looking for people with some experience, and they're usually not opening up internships or apprenticeships, or even some of these internships and apprenticeships expect people to have a year or two of experience. It's wacky. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. I don't have a better answer for you. I can only say keep learning, keep working, take the courses you can afford. Don't bother with these boot camps. Get a mentor or a paid coach who's going to look at your work and help you level up, because the more you level up and the more skill and proficiency you have, the more hopefully your portfolio will stand out when you apply for jobs. But if companies are looking for years of experience, and that's a cutoff, then there's a lot of jobs people will not qualify for while they have no experience, and I have no way to make that better. So I can't say like, how do you get more chances to get a junior job? There's very low chances to get a junior job right now. I'm giving people the tough love, and I'm saying take a hard look at why you want to go into UX, because UX is a big mess right now. It's going to take you a year or two to get your first job. I suggest you work in something else while you try to get that job and while you practice, because you can't have no job for 2 years. Well, most people can't. So don't quit your job. Play it safe. It's taking people, even with master's degrees, a year or two to find their first job. So please be careful and play it safe. Don't just quit jobs. Don't just think that if you go to an expensive boot camp or get a certificate that matters. Again, I rarely look at resumes and CVs. I rarely look at what certificates you got. I'm looking at your portfolio, and I'm looking at, does it look like this person knows what they're doing, so that if they come into this company, they at least have some foundation knowledge and some foundation ability. That's why I always put this up. I can't hire someone who's still doing building blocks, which is like, I talked to 6 users and I made 6 personas. Okay, that person had a great question. It's a newbie mistake. Totally understandable. But that person might not be ready for their first job if they're still learning what are personas and how do we make them and why do we make them and do we even need them. So these are good questions, and I'm not pooping on that person, but it does mean that that person is less likely to get their first job in the near future. And maybe they got a job, and that's great, and I'm for that. I don't want them to lose their job, but it sounds like they are still learning. And that means they're at that building blocks level. They're like, I'm talking to people, and I go, okay, but are you using science and technique to talk to people? Are you asking good questions or not so good questions? How well do you analyze what you have? Are you analyzing it well? You're not. You analyzing it well or not analyzing it well? Akash says some harsh truth, but we know what we're facing. The boot camp's promoting you can just land a job out of a boot camp. Yeah, and I say that they should guarantee that. If you can land a job outside of a boot camp, where's that guarantee? And I did a show where I actually read the money back guarantee fine print for a boot camp, and it was so freaking dirty. It's a 10-minute video. You can find it on my channel. And it was so dirty. It was, I think it's in the Perspectives playlist. And it was, I think maybe if you put in Delta CX refund into YouTube, you might get it. I think part of the title had the word refund in it. And it was like a million ways that you cannot qualify to get the boot camp's money back guarantee. Like if you don't get a job within 6 months, you will get your tuition back or you won't have to pay your loan or whatever. It was really, really dirty. And there were like 57 ways that they could not have to follow through on their own money back guarantee. Sirocco says, facts. Going to need to look for a job in the meantime. Yeah, and I'm sorry. That is the case. And I tell people, please just play it safe right now, because it's going to take a year or two to get that UX job. You might need to take a dream job or something totally outside of UX for now. And be careful of some of these people who say, oh, just do the free work and the pro bono and the charity work. First of all, those people still expect work done well. And if you are guessing, that might not be work done well. That's not going to be good. Not going to look good in the portfolio. And also, almost all of those projects that I've seen that were pro bono or charity or we're looking for free help were not UX projects. They were web design. It was, hey, can you just look at our landing page and make it better? Hey, can you design an email template for us? Remember, if it doesn't involve real or archetypal or target users, it's not UX. It's just web design. It's just doing what the client tells you to do. It could be production design. So that is my longer answer to that. And I'm sorry it's not good news. Still, I hope people will subscribe and come hang out on the channel and get all the help we can give. We've got a lot of free lessons here on the channel. The micro lessons playlist has a lot of lessons that are mostly research with a little bit of design. The Think Out Loud series has a bunch of design lessons. And the Axure playlist will teach you Axure at a basic and intermediate level. And Aka adds a sneaky question at the end, which says, does graphic designers or web designers have more chances to slip into UX? No. I'm going to go with no. You would have a good chance to slip into graphic design and web design somewhere, but how would you prove that you can do UX? If I have an open job for a UX practitioner and your portfolio is full of web design, how do you show me you can do the job? I don't want to hear I can learn it. I don't want to hear I'm passionate about it. I don't want to hear I have empathy. I want to know if I'm hiring for a job where you are going to be the only person doing UX on this project or at this company, I got to know that you can do this. And if I see a portfolio with web design and graphic design, you might be great at those. You might be the best in the world at those, but they aren't UX. If there isn't research, even if you didn't do it, if research didn't come from some qualified person to influence your designs, or if you're the researcher, if you didn't do good research with UX, and I don't mean running a survey, then how do I know you can do the work? People want people to come into these companies who can do the work, and that's where the proficiency comes in. That's why I have phases of proficiency. We can't just say, well, I can do some graphic design. Even if you do graphic design at a super high level, I don't need that. I need a UX architect. Akash says, when are we having Darren again on the show? Always a good question. So Darren and Dr. Nick are scheduled for the second Tuesday of every month. That means if I look at my calendar, the first Tuesday of February is the 1st, and the second Tuesday of February is the 8th. So that means Darren and Dr. Nick will be back on February 8th. Any other questions before I wind it up and play us out of here? We are going to be live tomorrow with Michelle Ronson, who's going to be back to talk about research ops. So another good one to check out. That will be an episode with a number, so it'll be in the podcasts playlist and go out as an audio podcast later. Any last thoughts before we head out? Remember, please be safe. A lot of people are getting Omicron. I'm very scared for everybody. I want everybody to be well and safe and comfortable. So please play it safe. Keep that mask on. Maybe 2 of them. We've been double masking a lot. And hey, we haven't had COVID yet. So there's that. And I will look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow when we talk about research ops. Thanks to all the great questions, and see everybody soon. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are